Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Matt. Today I want to talk about how to read in a foreign language. And I think this is a really important topic because reading is just such a huge thing that you can do to get better at a foreign language, especially past the intermediate level. But a lot of people approach it the wrong way. They don't know how to approach it. And then they just kind of don't get the benefits out of reading in a foreign language. Um, Before I kind of get into that, I wanted to talk about just kind of the benefits of reading because it really is so huge in the end of the day. I mean, at past the intermediate stage, it's probably the single best way to learn new words in a language. So, when you're reading, you're seeing the most common words again and again. You're seeing the same words again and again, especially if you're reading more specialized material. Maybe you're reading politics or a certain type of history. You're going to see that those same words pop up. And it kind of acts as this natural flashcard system, this natural review, where after seeing those words again and again, you're slowly internalizing them into your subconscious over time. Not only that, though, you're also seeing grammar in practice. So you're seeing grammatical structures like the present tense and the future in action. You're seeing conjugations, you're seeing word order and how it's used. And that really does help to kind of get those grammatical concepts, comfortable or make them comfortable for you and get them into your long-term memory. So, if you're not reading already, reading is just huge when you're learning a language. Now, how do you approach this? Well, I think the single biggest mistake that people make is they pick up a hard, copy of a book, a paperback book, and they start reading, and they get 3 or 4 pages in, and they get completely wrecked. It's just way too tough. There's too many words on the page that they don't know, and they end up quitting. And the biggest mistake you probably made was picking up a hard physical copy of the book. If you're learning a language and you're wanting to read, definitely take that to the kind of digital online variant versus paperback. That's like your single biggest mistake because if you're at a very high advanced level where you don't have to look up too many things, I think reading a paperback book or a physical copy is okay, but you don't really have the advantage of being able to translate things or look things up with Google Translate or something along those lines. You have to kind of rely on a more like a classic dictionary, which is definitely not good, or you have to kind of look at the word and then go to your computer and type it. So it's just not very efficient. So, that's the mistake number one, right? Go to a digital medium. Now, depending on how you want to approach it, there's kind of free options and there's paid options. In my opinion, the single best way to read in a foreign language is to use something called LingQ. It's a kind of a reading app, and it's an amazing way to read in a foreign language. So, you can import your own content into the app, whether that's, news articles, books, whatever, or read some of the content they have on the website. And you can basically just read in sentences or kind of read entire pages, and you have the ability to translate as you go. Not only that, though, it'll keep track of the words that you do know, and it'll mark kind of the words in kind of white or have no marking on them if you know them, and if it's a word that you don't know and you mark it, it'll show you the words that you've marked before that you don't know. And so it's a great way to pick up vocabulary in the end of the day. It's just a lot easier if you go out to the website and see it for yourself. I'll link it in the description below, but if you're okay with paying money to read in a foreign language, it's just an amazing resource. So definitely check that out. If you're kind of looking for a more freemium approach, one great way is just to kind of use your computer and ideally like a laptop or a desktop or something like that, and have Google Translate open one tab or kind of on the right side of the screen and the reading text on the left side of the screen. And so that can be just news articles on the internet. It can be an e-reader, something along those lines, just such that you have the ability to translate words as you go. So the way I would approach it is just read like a sentence at a time. And if there's words that you don't know, take the word, copy it, and then just paste it into Google Translate to get the definition. You can also do this with phrases. So maybe the word's just not enough and you need to copy down the phrase, and then just find out what that definition was, and then just keep going from there. And that's really the best way to approach reading, to be honest with you. Just keep reading with Google Translate up on the right side or some sort of other translating service, and just kind of read down the page and look up the words that you don't know. You don't have to look up every single word, but it definitely helps to slowly internalize those words over time. And that's one of the big advantages of LingQ, because they handle all that Google translation for you. They handle the words that you know and don't know, and that's just why it's such a great option. But if you want to try reading, try that approach. It's really simple, and it's a little bit easier on a desktop view where you kind of have a bigger screen, because otherwise, like on a mobile device, you have to kind of switch tabs to Google Translate, and that's a little bit more tedious, less efficient. So if you're going to kind of take that freemium approach, definitely try to do it on like a computer, because it's just a little bit easier to kind of position the windows. And some of the e-readers, I'm not too sure about this, might have like translation options as well that you can use, but the idea is to always have some sort of translation as you read, right? And I would break it down into sentence chunks, especially if you're kind of more kind of focused in on vocabulary acquisition and really understanding what's going on, right? Read a sentence at a time and then translate the words or the phrasal kind of elements that you don't know. You can also approach this by reading an entire paragraph and then going back. But I think that the idea is just to constantly be translating, because you're not fluent in the language, and that's the way to kind of get that comprehension element in, get that grammatical understanding, and get that vocabulary element in all at the same time. So kind of try to take that approach as well. So the thing that's also worth noting is kind of this idea of intensive versus extensive reading. And so, extensive reading would be something along the lines of you just kind of read and you occasionally, look up words and you just try to maybe understand the general gist of what's going on, but you're kind of focused more on volume, versus kind of an intensive approach is really hyper focusing in on the meaning of the sentence, the accuracy, the grammatical structure, really trying to understand all elements. And the extensive, I think, is generally the approach to go on for more vocabulary acquisition and more enjoyment. But it's good to just kind of mix it up sometimes, to use a more intensive approach and extensive approach. So, you don't have to be super hyper focused in on translating every single word, every single phrase. It could be just some of the words. So, be sure to just kind of mix it up when you're reading. And so this is kind of, how I would approach reading in a foreign language. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.